Hey, okay, what's up, everybody? Coach Colby here. Another client success story, another day. Brandon Johnson is like becoming the face of this gym every single time. He just keeps showing up and he keeps training. And so this is Gideon's 500 session milestone. Obviously, this is just one part of a bigger picture of everything that Brandon's done in training and physical expression. So I wanted to interview him and ask some questions to learn how he got here. As always, trying to pull out lessons for consistency and mindset and all those different pieces. So, Brandon, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, sure. You twist some arm enough, I give up.
I know I had to bug him quite a bit. Come on, man. This is a big one. Let's go. All right, man. So 500 session milestone. I want you to think back to when you started 3 years and some change ago.
Yep.
Do you ever think that you'd be this consistent and hit this milestone?
Yeah. I think if anything, what surprised me is how quickly I got to not the 500, but how quickly I got to something that looked like a consistent routine, and how easy it was to find my way to that. But when I first started talking to you, that was always the goal, was to find something sustainable, consistent, and ideally lifelong. So, no, I guess to answer your question, I'm not surprised that we're having this conversation now. But
Yeah. I was surprised how quickly it did too. And so Brandon and another client, Devo, really pushed the pace of it, of what I thought it would be. And so that had forced me to kind of really figure out our milestones and all these lengths pretty prematurely, but it's really awesome. So what would you say has been the biggest change in terms of like what you've noticed? Obviously you came in, got a lot stronger right off the bat, a lot of mental and emotional support, having an outlet to come and have some stress relief. So tell me just a little bit about the development, maybe from 0 to that 250 conversation we did, and then in the past 250, if you could break it up that way.
Sure. So you kind of hit on the two big ones already. One is like obviously strength has grown a lot. There was a period in the very, very beginning where that was moving real fast, just because I've been out of the gym for more than 6 years at that point. So that was, I guess that helped probably with the consistency piece, because that gets a little addicting. There were other physical changes like body comp and stuff that took a lot longer, but it was definitely noticeable. So it was apparent from the very beginning that it was working. That had a big impact on my, I don't know, I guess my mentality, my mindset, but just also my desire to keep it up.
What did you notice? I want you to go back to maybe that first year or two. When did you start to feel like, okay, I'm making progress? And tell me, what were you paying attention to every day? Like what was it that kept you coming back?
One of the biggest things is the gym is just a really great outlet for me for energy. Call it positive, nervous, negative, whatever. It was an outlet that I was needing, and that outlet, or having that outlet, definitely spilled over into other parts of my life. Just energy was better, attitude was better, motivation to get things like work done was better. So it just, I don't know, it kind of compounded. And when I started feeling better about the way things were going at work or at home, then it was more enjoyable to be at the gym. And it's a cycle. And then as far as like the physical changes, I wasn't tracking much. I mean, you got the in-body, which I was doing pretty regularly just because it was kind of validated what I thought I was seeing as far as making progress. Never chased those numbers. Wasn't too worried about weight. Like I weigh almost exactly what I weighed the day I met you right now. Like 13% less body fat.
But the composition, right? The muscle mass, the body fat, like way different. Yeah.
So that's not stuff I've been chasing, but it was just good to see that some sort of like scientific validation for what I felt was happening.
If I have you,
and then the clothes.
Keep going. Sorry.
I'll say then the clothes just quit fitting in the good way. Like growth was happening the way I wanted it to, and that got my attention when I had to make a decision whether to invest in a new wardrobe or not.
Yeah. I love all that. So thing number one, you said just having an outlet. having a third a third place where you can come in and move your body and do something physical. That, for those of you watching, this could be anything. Could be group fitness, could be mountain bike club, could be fucking anything. Yoga. Having a place where you feel safe, where you can train and express. We're really, I think, meant to have a little bit of that in our day as humans. And so when we don't have that, it can feel pretty challenging, or if you're not used to having that routine. Beyond that, you said obviously some of the body changes. You noticed you gained a lot of muscle. I wrote an article about that, which you really did. You got, a lot of that I would say I can't claim is what we did. It's just regained maybe what you'd lost.
Yeah.
But the strength beyond that, for sure, I will take credit for supporting you and pushing you along that and the nutrition side. What routines, habits, or mindsets have really served you well? Tell me a little bit more about like how do you think about scheduling your classes, and you're going through context change now, getting into a new job. So like, despite everything else you have going on, what is it in your system? What are the foundational things that keep you supported and keep you doing this?
One of the things that I think about a lot is where I was at when I wasn't doing the gym thing, and not just really just a desire to not end up back there.
Love that.
Yeah, we kind of also talked about just how it impacts everything else. I know that I do a better job at work if I feel accomplished and if my energy level is up, and that's all stuff that comes out of being consistent and getting to the gym regularly. I know I show up better for my family. I have a better attitude when I've been able to prioritize that outlet. I'm not looking for some other less healthy outlet at home, because I don't need it, because I've got that taken care of at the gym.
I had a follow-up on that. Hold on one second. So what's your routine when you schedule your sessions? Meaning it's Monday night, are you doing it last minute? Are you like weeks in advance? How do you plan out when training fits in? Then how do you fit? What I'm trying to get into is like, you have a lot on your plate.
Yep. And
you come to the gym, now the context has shifted. It's 3 to 4 days a week. In the past it was 5. But how do you fit this in? You have everything else going on. You got a lot on your plate. How do you look at training? I mean, yes, pain is a good motivator. I don't want to go back to where I was. But dude, you could stop training for 6 months to a year with doing nothing before you get back there. Maybe longer, to be quite honest. So like, that's not an immediate So tell me a little bit more.
Well, going back to your question about like the approach, it's rare that I finish a workout and don't go sign up for that same workout 3 weeks later before I get home, or as soon as I get home.
Nice. Okay.
So like in Wadify, I'm just booked out for 3 weeks, the same schedule week in and week out. And then Sunday afternoon, usually I look at it again and say, does this work this week? Usually it does. My schedule stays pretty consistent. I'm in the office the same days every week. Occasionally there's some travel I got to work around, but usually it's just sticking to that exact same schedule. And then again, looking at it on Sunday for the entire week rather than getting it Thursday and realizing, well, shoot, I can't do what I had signed up for on Friday. Everything's full, or there's nothing that works, so now I'm just going to have to miss one.
Yeah.
So you might call it obsessive, but I obsess about making sure that I'm signed up for what I need to do, and that I've got a plan for the week. That it includes a lot of the important pieces of the week, but gym is right there at the top of the list as far as things that I need to make sure that I'm getting in one way or another.
Cool.
But if I do that consistently, if I hit a week where I can't because I'm traveling or I'm sick or whatever, and I don't get them all in, then I feel okay about it because I know that there's a good reason for it. It's not because I didn't prioritize it.
Would you used to do that? Like, think 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 ago. If you missed a week, was it like?
No. I was in no matter how hurt or busy or whatever I was, no matter how bad the mood was, even if I knew that it's not what I needed at the moment, I was there.
Yeah. So one thing I want to pull out from that, it sounds like you are maintaining a big picture view. I love that. You're not letting a missed week or missed session derail and turn into more missed weeks and more missed sessions. You have a really long-term view. I love that. So thing number one that I pulled from that. Thing number two, it sounds like you've got like a closed loop. You end a session, You then, at some point in the next hour, presumably, you're going to reserve that same session 3 weeks in advance.
Yep.
And then those 3 weeks go by, and that behavior that you already reserved, the class is there. And then in order to really make it stick, it sounds like once a week, some point on Sunday, you're thinking about your week, not just OTA workouts, but everything else on Brandon's plate. And you're saying, okay, does this strategy fit with everything else that's going on?
Yep.
How, I'm trying to ask a question to not make it sound like I'm flexing on what we're doing, but like, how has our scheduling flexibility and class options supported you in that? Like, meaning, how rare is it that you run into something like, well, I guess I'm not training today because I just can't get in?
It just happens. It doesn't happen a ton to me just because, especially in the 3 years that we've been working together, I work part-time and full-time from home. So we had a lot of flexibility. So if I miss a class, I've been able to go sign up for something else and make it work. As of this year, I'm working full-time and in the office part of the times. And that's part of where the need to sign up in advance comes from, because I need to block it off, not just to save my spot in a class, but I put it on my work calendar as well. So I just block that time off so that nobody can touch it. Not that anybody's scheduling meetings at 5:30 in the morning, but I'm committed to it at that point because it's in the plan for the day. But then, yeah, the classes, it's been great to be able to say, I was going to try to go this morning. I had a terrible night's sleep, and I'm going to go ahead and drop that and try to get into the 4 o'clock. It's rare that I sign up for a class that I end up on a wait list for and I still don't get in. I feel like enough people shuffle around that it usually happens. But again, it doesn't always. And if I hit a day where it just doesn't, then we try to find another day.
Yeah. Again, link to a bigger picture. It's okay. These big ups and downs, the big emotions can get regulated with just time and space. Like missing a day isn't the end of the world. It's frustrating for sure, but
yeah. It's ski season. It's even harder because I don't have the weekends because we're skiing most every weekend. But outside of ski season, there's always that Saturday option, which seems to be pretty readily available. There's some exceptions on like holiday weeks and stuff where that doesn't work. But yeah, the flexibility, the ability to stick to my regular schedule, but also deviate when necessary is a big piece of being consistent.
Yeah. So I want you to think about a time when you were like coming to the gym or you had a appointment scheduled, a class scheduled, and something came up. You almost skipped, whatever it is. I want you to maybe share a little bit if you can, and then what was it that got you through? Why did you continue to show up and get to the other side of that resistance?
Well, there have been days for sure where I would get up and say, not the day, and I accept that and I don't go. But usually the
good.
Kind of the decision-making process is, do I have any other options? Because not getting my workouts in because I'm just not feeling it is not an option. Not going on a Monday morning because I had a rough night of sleep or whatever, and I have the ability to get in later in the week, that's an option for sure. So yeah, I'll get up and I'll look at Waterfy, and if there's openings elsewhere that work for me, I'll grab one and I'll get back in bed. And if there's not, it's like, this sucks, but this is important. I know I'm going to regret it if I don't make it happen. So I go.
Yeah. Do it anyway.
Yep. And there are days that I do it anyway, and I'm glad I did, and it works. The workout goes well. I feel good. And then there are also days where it's like, you know what? I forced that for sure. And maybe I shouldn't have. Or maybe it's just I need to accept that I got in there and I did the thing, even if it wasn't great. And I went in and I moved and I started my day, and that's good.
We call those in the business mentorship room I'm in, we call those $5 days. $5 days where you're just like, nothing good happened today. Like I did I checked the box, I got it all, but nothing awesome came of that, and it was hard and it was brutal. $5 day. Man, I love that. And that's, for every 10 workouts you do at this point, one's going to be incredible, one's going to be terrible, 8 are going to be, moderate, going to be good enough. Maybe those numbers aren't, maybe it's 2, 2, and 6, but you get the idea. It's like you're going to have some shitty ones, you're going to have some great ones, and you're going to have some that you're going to totally forget about by 2 weeks down the road, 3 weeks down the road.
Really? What I won't about is not going and then allowing myself to lose my routine and my habit and letting that perpetuate.
Yeah, I love that, man. That sounds like you have a pretty consistent standard for yourself in terms of what you would allow and not allow in terms of exercise and fitness. And that's why I do these interviews. I want to pull this stuff out. I want to learn from folks who are doing it. You know, it's not like I taught Brandon anything special. I hold him accountable. We check in once a quarter. There's a lot of dialogue and communication. But like this is all Brandon steering the ship. This is me on the ship saying, okay, we're going this way. All right. Have you thought about these things? Okay, we're going this way. Okay, cool. Here's where we're at. Here's where we're going to make adjustments. And so some people, when they're first learning, they need a carrot and a stick. You know, some people need that. Brandon's just like, you know, you're pretty self-motivated. So there's really no sticks. It's all carrots. Like, where are we going? Let's go. Let's do it. I want you to think back to Brandon circa 2021. If you could give that Brandon some advice from what you know now and what the journey has been, what would you say to that guy?
I think we kind of talked about this in the last interview, but really it's just give it a chance. Like I started and I was discouraged. Mainly I was discouraged about where I was at physically. And I really didn't want to keep coming because I didn't enjoy being there. And just give it a chance, give it, 3 months, 6 months, whatever. Give it an opportunity to become part of your routine, I guess. And then see how you feel. And it won't necessarily be easy in the very beginning, but it will get easier if you give it that chance.
Be patient, give it a chance, let the magic work a little bit.
Yep. The changes you want are not going to come overnight.
Yeah.
And that needs to be okay.
So was that a daily reminder for you back then? Were you kind of, did you know that back then? Or is this something like you were really impatient? I shouldn't say impatient, sorry. You were ready for progress. It just wasn't really coming in those early months.
It was both. Like I knew it. I've done this sort of thing before. But it was still hard to accept. You were a big part of that. We talked about it constantly. So yeah, I knew it, but it wasn't easy to accept it either.
Yeah. It's the biggest barrier for a lot of folks is like just patience. Just like let the routine take hold. Once you start getting strong and getting a good routine, a good rhythm, then it gets really fun. It gets enjoyable. The framework that we share, it's on the back of it's our logo, it's on our shirts, motivation, momentum, routine, rhythm, describes that process where there's this initial motivation stage. You realize you have a problem and you're motivated to like try to get some change, meaning clothes aren't fitting the way they want. My energy sucks, whatever. Motivation stage is real early. It's the first, couple months for a lot of people. They're really just relying. There's no routine. There's no expertise. They're just like going based on their own energy and their own motivation. Eventually that runs out. That's where momentum comes in. Momentum is then you just let those routines carry you through. You keep going. Just like the energy it takes and the resistance to the behavior should go down the longer you do it as it becomes habit. Routine is where it's like, it's part of my week, guaranteed. I'm probably going to be training 2 to 3 days a week for the next year. Rhythm is the kind of the final phase where it's like you look forward to it. It's enjoyable. There's no resistance or very little resistance most days to come and doing the thing. And so from my perspective, you seem to be in the final step of the journey, which is the rhythm phase where you're looking forward to training, you're progressing, you're doing it consistently. You can ebb back and forth. But so all that said, why do you think people struggle with consistency? Like if you were to zoom out a Brandon story, why would you think other people would struggle?
At least from what I see firsthand, is it's another thing on the plate. Lives are busy, and this is another thing that you have to fit in. Another thing to stress out about when it's not what you want it to be, whether it's because you're not making it or you're not making the progress you want. It's another thing that can cause stress. And it's easy to kind of shy away from that.
Yeah. Damn, dude, I love that. That gives me some good ammo, some good context for some conversations I have coming up.
Sorry, everybody.
I love that, man. All right, man. Looking ahead, what's next, man? Is there any goals you're pursuing? Anything that, what does training mean to you? Like, why do you keep coming and doing this, looking ahead? What's your vision for Brandon's future?
I guess it's just to continue focusing on fitness. It's going to change a little bit once spring hits and weather's nicer. one of my goals, or I don't know, not to call it a goal. I don't know if it's measurable, but I'm going to spend more time on my bike.
Nice.
Road bike, indoor if I have to, preferably outdoor. When I first started with you, the goal was to build strength to support the riding, and then I was getting so much out of the gym that strength became the priority. And
I remember this, by the way. Yeah.
So I want to get back to doing some of that. I enjoy it. I miss it. Got a very nice bike hanging in the garage that just sits down every morning. When are you going to come back? So I'm going to do that.
Awesome, man.
But then there's another goal. I'd really like to get back to the point where I can say I'm as strong as I've ever been. I'm not there. I feel better than I did when I was as strong as I've ever been. But
how close are you, do you think?
I'm a ways off. I was at a point, I was deadlifting over 500 pounds. I was squatting over 400 pounds. I'm not there. I'm probably 100 pounds off of both of those right now. So that's a couple year process to get back to that. Mm-hmm. But I also go back and forth as to whether or not that's even a reasonable goal. Does it serve me in any way other than to just say, probably not. So I don't know that I'll ever really chase that aggressively, but it's always there.
I love this like next level thinking of like aligning this to bigger values because I wish I learned this when I was 18, 19, 20. I was a mindless rugby guy pursuing that. And that's like all my world was. And, I'm happy about how that all turned out. But I'd say maybe early 30s, that question started popping in my brain also. Now it really does, of like ecology. Does this make my life better?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, it's got to be a no. You know what I mean? So those are good questions to begin pursuing.
I'll go back on that one.
We'll talk about it, man. We'll talk about it. All right. Brandon, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate you always doing these things. Talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Colby.